Are you shopping for a camera this holiday season? Or maybe you're just considering sticking with your iPhone? Watch this video for my take on whether or not it makes sense to invest in a, quote, real camera system. Or should you just stick with your iPhone? I'm Scott Lawrence, a professional headshot and portrait photographer based here in Detroit. While I learned on film, I've been using digital cameras for probably 20 years now, so I've seen my fair share of digital cameras. For the best headshot tips and tricks, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you'll be notified when new videos are released. So the biggest question these days is, do you get a real camera or do you just stick with your iPhone? Here are a few things to consider as you make your decision. First and foremost, budget. Smartphones have pretty much obliterated the point and shoot market, so if you're not able to spend more than $1,000 or so, I would honestly just put that money towards a good current model iPhone. That's going to be far and away a better investment. I just think you're going to have better luck with an iPhone. What do you plan to photograph? If you're looking to photograph mainly your family, kind of casual family snapshots, that sort of thing, unless you're really looking to get into photography as a hobby or possibly a part-time job, again, I would stick with that iPhone. It's just going to be ready a little faster. It's going to take a lot less setup time. There's a lot less to learn. Unless you really know what you're trying to achieve in family portraits or kids' portraits, I think you're going to have better luck with an iPhone again. What about photographing your kids' sports? Now, here's a situation where I would recommend investing in a professional camera. The biggest benefit here is going to be the speed and the lens. To photograph sports effectively, you really need a big, long zoom lens, something in the 70 to 200 or 70 to 300 millimeter range. That's going to allow you to get much closer to the action than were you to just take snapshots with your iPhone. Technically, you can zoom in with your iPhone, but it's a digital zoom and it's pretty artificial and it doesn't look that great when you blow anything up. That's really a big reason is if you're going to do sports, I would stick with a mirrorless or SLR camera. You're also going to see a lot of benefit with the speed. A mirrorless camera or SLR camera is going to shoot at generally a higher frame rate. Think, 6, 7, 8, 9 frames a second. Some are even a lot faster than that. There is some burst functionality in your iPhone, but it's not as maybe easy to use, especially in a sports situation, because you've got to worry about stability, hand holding, that sort of thing too. So I think ultimately you're going to have better luck using a professional camera to photograph sports in most situations. What about travel or landscape photography? The iPhone is actually pretty good here. iPhones are of course light, nimble. You don't really need to carry much more than a battery charger, if that. So for landscape or travel photography, the software built into the iPhone is what really shines. And that's just not something that mirrorless or SLR cameras really do well. They're still pretty traditional in that respect. The iPhone is doing a lot of calculations behind the scenes. It's combining exposures. It's looking a lot more intelligently at the scene and adjusting the exposure appropriately. It's also going to have some more built-in stabilization features for you. A lot of things that you can do with just a snap of an iPhone that are going to take a professional camera, multiple exposures. You're going to need a tripod to hold things steady. And then you're going to have to come home and do some editing in Photoshop. Now, even for somebody like myself who has access to plenty of equipment, I rarely do that with any of my vacation or travel photos. So I think for travel and landscape photography, you're going to be in good shape with just an iPhone. Mirrorless options. You're pretty sure you want to dip your toe into the world of mirrorless or SLR photography. There's a few things to consider as you do your shopping. You want to choose a camera partially on the way it feels in your hand because they're designed to be used for long periods of time and they should be a lot more comfortable. So Nikon and Canon, for example, have pretty good reputations of being pretty comfortable and pretty ergonomic designs. Fuji is also kind of in that mix. It's a little more of a retro feel. And then Sony is not regarded as ergonomically friendly, if you will. But again, I would go to a camera store and try to feel them out and see what you think feels most comfortable in your hands. The other thing to consider are the menu options. So again, Nikon, Canon, and Fuji are all fairly intuitive. Once you get the general hang of things and you know what you're trying to find, it's pretty easy to navigate. That's just something I would consider off the bat is just kind of the usability, because if you get frustrated every time when you're trying to find the right menu settings, you're just not going to enjoy using the camera and you're just going to go back to using your iPhone. What about lens options? So if you decided that you're going to go mirrorless or going to pick up an SLR, you want to look for a good zoom lens for probably that sports application. So that 70 to 300 or 70 to 200 millimeter range, those are great kind of general purpose zooms. So great for action sport shots, even the kids running around, good for some basic wildlife photography. For portraits, look for a good fast prime lens. So this is a prime lens is a lens that doesn't zoom, so it's a fixed length, so usually like a 50 millimeter or 35 millimeter, and then it's going to have a big aperture. So f1.8 or f1.4 are going to be the numbers that you'll see. Now this means that it's going to give you that look of that real soft background, which is something that the iPhone tries to do with software, and it does a pretty good job most of the time, but it still is a little flaky at times. So those are the basics. I think if you know you're going to have a specific use case, then you might be able to more easily justify spending the money on a mirrorless system or DSLR system. And I would think if you're if you're going to go that route, expect to spend $1,500 to $2,000 depending on the setup, and you'd want to pick up a couple of lenses. So that's going to be kind of the price range that I would think you would be in. Otherwise, I would put that money into a great iPhone. Are you going to stick with that iPhone, or are you going to dip your toe into the mirrorless world? Let me know in the comments. I'd be curious to hear what your plans are. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're looking for more headshot tips and tricks. And that's it for now. Have a great day.